This is your 22nd season, 7 wins under your belt.
Yep.
Just what is it that motivates you to keep coming back for more?
Well, it's a good question because every season I have to find something new to drive me. Because like you said, I mean, after 7 wins, it really is difficult to match the intensity and desire that people who've never won bring to the table. Last season on Ride or Dies, I obviously had, Nani, my partner who had never won and who's just, been so deserving for so many years. So that was kind of my motivation that season. And then we lost in the 97th hour of a 100-hour long final after 9 weeks of hell. Just let one slip through my fingers. So I feel like coming on this season, my motivation was to avenge the loss that was so close to winning. So, just try and right some wrongs.
And, obviously no spoilers. I have no idea how this season ends, but winning something like World Championship has to be maybe an excellent way to go out. I mean, how many more of these do you kind of think you still have in you, or is there a title or a goal you still are hoping to accomplish?
No, I mean, listen, man, I felt like after my last win on Total Madness, just because of how just emotionally and mentally and spiritually draining that season was, living in a bunker underground. I mean, that was a tough one, man. And I thought after that it, that had kind of, going out on top would be kind of like my swan song. But I look at like Tom Brady and the fact that, he keeps on retiring and then unretiring. And it's like, you look at the guy and he's 45 years old and you think of, age as, but it really is just a number because, he's still, as good, if not better than 95% of the quarterbacks in the NFL. And I kind of consider myself, the Tom Brady of the challenge. And I think he considers himself the Johnny Bananas of the NFL.
Clearly.
So, I mean, to answer your question, man, I mean, I really don't see retirement really in sight, because what's great about the challenge is even when, obviously I've been doing it for 17 years, 22 seasons. I don't have the same physical intensity and endurance and whatever, strength, stamina, whatever you want to call it, that I used to have. I can rely a lot more on my, my methods of manipulation and my connivery and tomfoolery. It's kind of like a pitcher in baseball. Once they lose their fastball, they got to start spotting their pitches and they got to go to their junk pitches a little more. So I just feel like, if anything, it's just kind of been an evolution that I need to, that I have adapted and adjusted to. And it's exciting for me every season to be able to go back, to continue to compete. And I mean, dude, I was, again, 3 hours away from another finals win. And this was some of the stiffest competition I'd seen in a long time, especially from the rookie class. I mean, we have washed up collegiate athletes, semi-pro soccer players, sprinters. I mean, dude, these guys just keep getting more and more physically, fit and intense. But if there's one thing that the challenge has shown, is it's a mind game. And I think my mind is still there, and we'll see.
And I mean, you're clearly holding your own.
Thanks, man.
But
Thank you.
And with the exception of 2021, just you've appeared on at least one challenge every year since 2006, which is wild to think about. But yeah, you mentioned
it's a great stat.
It is a good stat. Just, have you had moments of burnout? I know you mentioned after Ride or Die, you kind of felt that way, but how do you kind of deal with that and get over that, I guess?
You know how I get over it? You know how I deal with it is I put things into perspective. All right. There's not a person out there that has a job that is like, I love every aspect of this job. Right.
Yeah.
And what you almost kind of have to do. Oh, and by the way, for all the naysayers out there, I consider it a real job, even though other people don't. Anyways, I digress. Everybody has aspects. Doesn't matter what you're doing. that you're going to dislike. But what I do is I weigh the pros and the cons. And it's like, yes, is it, emotionally draining and soul sucking sometimes? And does the, the confines of the challenge house and that whole experience and the pressure cooker environment that we're put in, and the negativity sometimes and the backlash and the hate that we receive online, there are drawbacks in those regards. However, it's like, I get to do what I love, man. I get to compete. I get to travel. I get to experience, new places, meet new people, do things that, some of these challenges we show up to, as someone who's been around for 21 seasons, I look at these things and I'm like, how did they come up with such a crazy contraption? And it's like, I get to do it, you know what I mean? And I get to do something that most adrenaline junkies would pay any amount to do. So I look at it from that perspective, where it's like, I feel like instead of working 365 days a year and stressing out all year, I cram all of my stress into 6 to 9 week blocks. And then I have the rest of the year to just, to do what I want to do, focus on, the goals and my career aspirations. And I just, I have that time off. So again, there's obviously really difficult and difficult aspects of the challenge that I have to deal with. However, I feel like when it's all balanced out, the pros far outweigh the cons.
Yeah. And, talking just a little bit about that balance, because you are away so often for periods of time. Does it make it hard does it have an effect, I guess, on your personal life, not just romantic, but generally your family, or does that get taxing?
Absolutely. There's a reason why I'm 40 years old and I, haven't settled down and don't have, immediate family of my own. But I think that's one of the, that's just one of the consequences of doing what I've done for so long at such a high level. And here's the thing, there are cast members who have stepped away and they have started families and got married and whatever. But it's like, I think the reason that I have, rose to the level of notoriety that I have over the years is because I've never stepped away. Right. And while I feel like certain cast members have, and they have the benefit now of having a family and having this other life, they also missed out, I think, on some very important years. And I think the fact that I have stuck with it this entire time, and the fact that I have, never steered away, and my focus and attention has always been on my career, I have obviously the benefit of, again, reaching the level that I have of infamy or whatever you want to call it. But then, there's the drawback of, not really ever having the time or the ability to really be in a long-term meaningful relationship, because I just feel like where I'm at right now and what I've come, it's like I've invested so much time and energy. It's like my career at this point in my life obviously is always going to come first. But there's who's to say that things might are going to listen, man, something's going to have to give at some point. So if and when that happens, man, I'll be ready. But as of right now, it's like, man, I'm just focused on doing me and my career. And it's unfortunate that there are some side effects, negative side effects to that, but it's like you got to kind of almost choose one or the other,
Yeah. And going into World Championship, you obviously automatically have a big target on your back just because of your legacy with this franchise. I think you even call yourself public enemy number one in the first episode. Just does that fuel you a bit? And is it hard knowing that even one little mistake could really be the end of it for you?
I don't know any different at this point. Okay. Yeah. I really don't. That's just kind of what, again, if, talking about, just kind of the drawbacks and the consequences of success, it really is you draw a lot more attention. There are people who are obviously gunning for you right out of the gate, not just based on, again, your threat in the game, but your accomplishments. So I've just grown used to having to clock in for work the day I show up. Other people have the luxury of being able to arrive at the house and spend the first week, 2-3 weeks just flying under the radar, letting the bullets whiz over their head. But the reason a lot of people have the ability to do that is because they're not necessarily perceived as a threat in the game. So, I mean, yeah, it kind of sucks. I would like to, be able to take a little break here and there, but I know, listen, I know what I signed up for. I know that everything that all the adversity that I have to deal with in the house is a direct result of who I am and what I've done in the past. And I'm totally, fine just living with that. I would prefer the position that I'm in than, again, what I had previously mentioned about, somebody who isn't perceived as a threat and just isn't viewed, that way. I mean, it's kind of like, I actually take it as a compliment. All right. I take it as a compliment. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, does that sometimes go to your head? I know Sarah pointed out that she thought it was a hit to your ego that you weren't picked first as the teammate right off the bat.
Not really, man. I've never necessarily been, even with all of, the success that I've had in the past, I've never been seen as, and even in a house, I mean, I've never been seen as like the top guy. Okay. I've always been seen as the person we want to get rid of. But I've never been, in the house. I don't know if I've ever necessarily been picked first when it comes to that. So I was actually happy with the order that I was chosen in, just because I felt like I fell into a better position. And we'll see, man. I mean, getting picked first overall, especially in this game, we'll see how that works out.
Because again, that brings the target on you too. So
yeah. Well, I mean,
even if you're second,
what was also dependent upon what was weird about the way this worked out was it depended on the way that the global MVPs placed.
Right.
And the way that I saw the placement, it almost seemed like, because of the way that initial combine challenge was set up, in my opinion, some of the stronger players didn't necessarily finish ahead. So it was almost like it was weird. The later you got picked in this, I felt like the better position you were going to be in. So
interesting.
Yeah.
And what, for someone who has been doing this for 17 years, I guess, what is the biggest change you've noticed in the challenge, whether it comes to like the people who are competing or the types of competitions, challenges you're tasked with doing?
I mean, all the above, man. I mean, when I first started the challenge way back in 2006, the challenge was just making its transition from a game show or a, just kind of a game show with circusy type games and it was like a sideshow. The challenge aspect was a sideshow. It was all about the drama, the house reality. The challenges were just something meant to kind of like break up the monotony of the house. The evolution that took place then is when it turned from a reality show into like a legit physical athletic competition show. When back in the day we do the challenges, there was no fitness equipment in the house. They didn't have a treadmill. I mean, they didn't have a yoga mat. It was like you'd show up and everyone would be in the shape that they were in, and everyone would slowly over the season like deteriorate. The finals were 6 hours long. The show was less than a month. And over time, with the evolution of more difficult challenges, it then forced players to take the physical fitness aspect of the show more seriously. So they showed up in way better shape, which then made the challenge recognize that and be like, oh, we got to, obviously allow them to maintain this while they're in the house. So then, the incorporation of all the fitness equipment, and we have like legit gyms in the house now. Then it made the competition even better, which then made them have to make even more difficult challenges so they could, measure up to the increased competition. So it's just been this steady evolution of the show, just getting more difficult, more physically demanding. The competition's getting better and younger, and I'm over here getting older and wiser and more handsome.
And the fans appreciate it. And my last question I have for you, is there other reality shows you would love to maybe venture into? Obviously, being part of the Paramount family, there's maybe opportunities for something like Amazing Race, Survivor.
I've always said, man, that I would love, just because I've been on the challenge for as long as I have, and I've really learned, I've really learned one realm of reality television competition. Yeah, I would love to be able to take the skill sets that I've developed and just see how I would be able to apply them to different shows and to different environments. So yeah, I mean, I would love to do, like, I don't know if I'd want to do like the Big Brother, the 99-day one, but if they did like another Celebrity Big Brother, would love to do that. Survivor would be awesome. Amazing Race, I think I'd do pretty good. I'm pretty good with direction, I guess. Even though some people accuse me of being directionless in life. Yeah, I mean, Dance with the Stars would be a fun one. I don't really know how to dance, but I feel like that would be a big test for me to learn how to dance,
right. It's better for the viewers when you don't too, but it's more fun to watch.
And who knows, man? I mean, Teen Mom could potentially be in my future at some point too,
No, stay away from that. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I can't wait to watch the rest of the season. It's always a blast to watch, and it's a pleasure speaking with you.
Hey, you too. It was toofab.
Toofab. I try my best to live up to the name.
Thanks. Take care, buddy. Have a good one. All right, you too.